I've never met anyone who better articulates the benefits of fasting.
About fasting. Practice fasting.
Fasting.
All the science is showing repaired neurons. You can actually turn on and off genes. Your cells start to repair. Fasting for 13 to 15 hours should be the first line of treatment for Alzheimer's, dementia, any neurological problems, obesity and diabetes, asthma. But if you go back to hunter-gatherer, sometimes we had to go long periods without food, and sometimes we got big kills and there was plenty of berries on the tree and we could feast. So that's what we're simulating. I'm just sort of unpacking that question. And I think as women, we have to always see it through the lens of our hormones. There's a time to fast and there's a time not to fast. Fasting does an incredible way of making you believe in yourself again.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It was just so much clarity for me.
Hi everyone, I just wanted to say this podcast is a few years old, but I still wanted to bring it to you because it is packed with amazing, actionable information, and there's almost no one who inspires someone around the ideas and benefits of fasting like Dr. Mindy Pelz. So tune in. I hope you love it as much as I did.
Hello, welcome, Wellness Warriors. I'm so excited for today's show. We have Dr. Mindy Pelz over here. She's a fasting expert. She has been empowering people all over the world to believe that their body has what it needs as long as we give it the right things and take things out of the equation that it doesn't need. She's also the founder of the Reset Group, which she's going to tell you all about. But I've never met anyone who better articulates the benefits of fasting and has created over 9 different fasts, and which is amazing, and conveys the message that your body is capable and powerful. And I just couldn't be more excited to share what you have going on. So welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, you know what? The more I dive into the science, the more I'm like, why don't people know this? They need to know this.
They do.
Yeah. We just haven't been taught. We haven't been taught how powerful our bodies are. We're actually taught the opposite. The minute we come out of the womb, everything that we're taught by our healthcare practitioners is that we're weak. And so we grow up feeling that we have no power. And fasting does an incredible way of making you believe in yourself again.
It absolutely does. And we're taught that the body is scary and it's too complicated. We couldn't possibly understand everything going on. And that is
right.
That is not the case. And so Dr. Mindy, she's going to empower us all. And I know you're just going to get a big kick out of her. She's amazing. But before we get into that, I need 2 quick questions for you. And I know the first answer, but I still want you to elaborate on it a little bit. What did you have for breakfast? It's our famous first question.
Oh, nothing.
Yes.
Coffee. I'm having it still. Coffee with a little bit of raw cream in it. And sometimes I'll put some ghee. And actually, I'm trying something new today. I interviewed Cameron George on my podcast. And so I'm trying Kava Plex, a couple drops of Kava in my coffee.
Tell me about that. Kava, like the herb? Are you just trying to relax? Because Kava, Yeah,
it's according to Cameron, so this is why I'm testing it out, is that it is for mental clarity and focus, but calm mental clarity and focus. And then, not to get too detailed, but then I went in and I interviewed Simon Chang of Peak Tea. And he was saying that when you put polyphenols with a fat, that it drives it into the cell and activates it more. And I was like, okay, well, that would make sense for everything. So then I thought, if I put Kava in my coffee with the caffeine and the cream, will it make the Kava more effective? And it to be determined. You let me know after an hour of talking to me.
Seems pretty good right now. And I think that's great, because Kava, I worked with a herbalist to create an anti-anxiety product that we're going to reveal sometime. But Kava has a bad reputation because of something that supposedly happened back in Europe. There was some toxicity issues. Supposedly it's bad for the liver. But this master herbalist told me that it is not anything to be worried about, and that subsequent research has shown that it isn't really an issue. Of course, doctor and all that. But thank you, Dr. Mindy Pelz.
Yeah,
that's fascinating.
It's like all things are not created equal. It's like CBD.
Yeah.
You probably already know this, but the roots of the marijuana and hemp plant, they use for actually toxic cleanup in certain parts of the world because those roots pull up toxins. Well, I would suspect that Kava, and I'm not a Kava expert, but I would expect that Kava has a little bit of the same bad reputation. If you get bad Kava,
Yeah.
it's dangerous, but if you get good, clean Kava, you're going to have a positive experience.
Totally. And she said it was such a travesty because it was so incredibly therapeutic and beneficial. It was like people would take it for their happy hour because it did just bring that calm sense of like relief and happiness. And so nice. We've never talked about Kava on the podcast.
There you
Love
go.
that. And I know, anyway, we're going to get into why you're probably not drinking protein and you're probably upping the autophagy with the fat. We're going to get into that. But second question, Dr. Mindy, I need to know, what was the best day for you so far this year?
Oh my God, this year.
I know. It's a brutal question.
That's a tough one. Okay, you know what? The one that pops in my mind is that I got the opportunity to speak to 3,000 chiropractors back in February before all of this happened. And the reason that it was a profound day, so for me, was one of my passions is toxicity in the modern world that we're living in. And I feel like doctors of all kinds need to understand that their patients right now are in a different environment than they were 10 years ago. And so I got to tell my story of like how I transformed my practice. I brought detox into it, the results I got. I got to show some of the science behind toxins in our food. And it was like you could see them connecting their dots. So it was a highlight for sure. And then the pandemic hit.
I know, right? And it's like such a strange question, but I'm trying to help people see that good things do happen this year, even though it is a little bit shit.
Yeah. Okay. And on top of that, though, I will tell you, pandemic-wise, I've got a 20-year-old and an 18-year-old, and we have seen each other more this year. We have spent more time as a family than ever before. My son, who's 18, is obsessed with cooking now because of COVID and the pandemic. He's just been home cooking a bunch, and I just see so many benefits on that level.
Honestly, I can say the same. I'm more involved in my child's education because we have a kindergarten pod at our house. I get to know our neighbors real well. There's a sense of community and like, just like kind of like we need each other. Like kind of, you know, leaning on one another in a way that kind of builds intimacy. So lots of gifts if you really look for them.
Agreed.
Thank you for sharing that. And now I do want to hear more about your story before we get into all things fasting. What made you so passionate about toxicity and fasting?
It's a great question. And I think a lot of us that are in the health world, like you, that we come to these things because we had our own struggles. Wow. So the short version of a very long story is that when I turned 40, I honestly thought that like health was just, exercising a whole bunch and eating good quality food. And at the time I was actually paleo. So I was kind of dabbling in the paleo world, and I was eating 6 meals a day. I get up, have coffee, have breakfast. I was like the smoothie girl. Like I carried a smoothie wherever I went, and I never was without food. If I went to a seminar, I had like a bag of snacks. And from the outside looking in, I looked healthy. I loved how what I weighed, and like everything seemed fine. Until I hit about 43 and I started not sleeping. I started getting night sweats. I started getting depression for the first time, which people who know me are like, what? I literally would like walk around and just feel like I'm so sad. And there was no reason to be sad. It was definitely like somebody had hijacked my brain. So I went, what do we do as women? We go and ask all our friends, like, what is this? Why am I feeling like this? How did that? I'm not sleeping. And I'm blessed to have a lot of my friends are about 5 to 6 years older than me. And they're like, oh, buck up. You're about to go through perimenopause. And I was like, really? I'm only 43. That's really weird. So long story short, I finally ended up chatting with a friend of mine who's like one of the top OBs in our area. And I asked her, I'm like, this is what's going on for me. Tell me, is there a medication I can take? Like, I was ready to do anything. And she said to me, we were at our kids' science fair, because I remember it. We were looking at a science project, and she stopped and she turned and looked straight at me and said, Mindy, I have a practice full of women with those symptoms, and my medical textbooks have failed me. And it was like somebody hit me with a 2x4 over my head that was like, you're going to have to solve your own problem. And I went home and I thought, if it's happening to every woman who in their 40s and the top OB at Kaiser can't solve it, what is happening to every woman? And that's what led me down the path of toxicity. And it led me to look at the modern world. The modern world, like today, is different than it was for our mothers, and it was different than a decade ago. And we've got more physical, emotional, chemical stress. And so I just opened up Pandora's box at that point and started to unwind my own symptoms.
And here you are. And I can honestly say, like I told you before we began, I spent several hours with you yesterday on your YouTube channel. I've never seen anyone with more energy and passion, and you're killing it. So I'm so glad it brought you here. And I'm sure you're going to say that fasting played a big part in this. And I'm excited because I know a lot of women out there are afraid to fast. Or I met with someone yesterday and says, I just can't. It doesn't work for me. I need to be eating all the time. So before we get into why that might be the case and that might not be the case, talk about the research-backed benefits of fasting.
Yeah, there's so many. I mean, literally, I spend right now 10 to 20 hours a week on the research because it's so vast. It's really exciting. There's just more and more stuff. In fact, there's some really cool stuff coming out right now around the virus and fasting and autophagy. So yeah, we'll talk about that. So, okay, but here's what you got to know. We have two fuel sources, two energy sources. One comes from sugar and one comes from fat. These names are a little deceiving because we think, oh, if I just avoid sugar, then I'll go to the fat source of energy. But that's not really how it works. If your blood sugar, you're eating something that raises your blood sugar, you switch over to the sugar burning energy source. And your body will, like, I just went for a run. I did it in a fasted state because I want my body to go find that the sugar I stored years ago, I want it to go find it in the fat. I don't want it to, if I ate breakfast and went for a run, it would just use my breakfast as a fuel source. So what fasting does is you start to bring your blood sugar down because you're not eating, and you are forcing your body to go over to this other fuel source. And this is what we call fat burning, and an indication that you're in this fuel source is you get something called ketones. So and we're supposed to switch in and out of these two fuel sources. So if you're eating all day, doesn't matter what you're eating, you haven't even discovered the miracles that are over here in this fat burning source, fuel source. So what we try to do is we take people who have been eating all day and we slowly train them to come over here to fat burning. And then from there, the science just grows. So all the science is showing that when you take food out of the equation, you lower inflammation, you make these ketones that go up into the brain and they start to repair neurons. You upregulate GABA that calms the brain. You can actually turn on and off genes. Your cells start to repair. So the name of the game is you want to tap into that every once in a while and train your body to be able to fast. It doesn't matter how long the fast is, but you want to have moments in that fasted state.
Yes. And what I learned from you yesterday in your videos was that there's 3 main reasons that people are going out and fasting. Can you share those with us? So the first, you probably know them, but.
No, go ahead. I don't know which video you saw.
I saw somebody, it was ketones, some people who want to lose weight and burn fat. And then there's the people who actually want to detoxify, and that's for autophagy. And then there's the people who want maybe anti-aging benefits, and that's your stem cell production. And so can you, it's beautiful.
You got it.
I want you, thanks. I really you, it was just so much clarity for me when you did that. And so, like you said, there was benefits for COVID in a recent publication. And so can you talk about those and then also give us like a timeline of when these benefits arise for these different kind of conditions?
Yeah. So let's start with the timeline. That's everybody's favorite thing. And I think it's really cool. So this is what I want people to understand. And then I want to make sure we address the person who says they can't fast, because there's a reason for that too. Okay, the timeline. So around 13 hours without food, what starts to happen is the inflammation in your body will start to go up, and your body starts to move from the sugar burner to the fat burner. So it's making that switch.
It will go down. The inflammation will go
down.
I'm
sorry, will go down. Yes. Yeah. So your inflammation will go down, and your body is slowly crawling over to that fat burner. It's like it can take, usually it takes, once people get used to fasting, it'll take about an hour for you to kind of, or maybe even like at that 13-hour mark, you just start to, boom, you're over into ketosis and fat burning. So 13 to 15 hours is what we call intermittent fasting. And the benefits are lowering inflammation, making ketones, and the biggest one I think a lot of people get excited about is growth hormone. That you start to make growth hormone, which is really cool because after 30 years old, you don't make any more growth hormone, which is why you start to age faster.
Okay, so growth hormone is just basically like an anti-aging hormone.
Yeah, it also helps burn fat. So, and there's great research like 13 to 15 hours. Two of my favorite studies. One is the New England Journal of Medicine came out and said that they reviewed over 1,500 different peer-reviewed articles, and that fasting for 13 to 15 hours should be the first line of treatment for Alzheimer's, dementia, any neurological problems, obesity and diabetes, asthma. They even recommended it for pre and post surgery, some autoimmune conditions like MS. It's the most famous article that we have. It came out last December on intermittent fasting. And then the other one that I love to let women know is there was a great research that came out showing that women who had breast cancer had 70% less of a reoccurring occurrence of the breast cancer. So they 70% less chance of getting it again if they did 13 to 15 hours of fasting every day.
Amazing. So what I love about your method and your videos is like you need to know why you're fasting. So people looking for fat burning, 13 to 15 hours seems to be a good way to go for all these benefits. What if we're looking for detoxification and autophagy? So can you tell us what autophagy is and then go into that?
Yeah, so autophagy is accomplishing two things. Think of it like this intelligence inside your cells that get turned on. And that one of the ways to turn on autophagy is through fasting. You have to fast at least 17 hours based off the research, and it will continue till about a 72-hour fast. So autophagy really that's the sweet spot, 17 to 72 hours. And here's what it does. When that intelligence gets turned on, it's like turning on a light inside the cell, and the intelligence looks around and they're like, there's some viruses, there's some bad bacteria, there's some fungus, like this is not helping the cell. I need to kill it and get it out of the cell. So it's called xenoautophagy, and it basically is killing any bacteria, viruses, pathogens that are in there. It also looks around and goes, hey, there's a mitochondria that's not working very well. We might want to clean that mitochondria up. And those proteins, they're not very efficient. We're going to repair those. And it also, when it repairs the inside of the cell, it may look around and go, you know what? This cell is on the path to being a cancer cell. So I'm going to kill it, and it'll create cell death. And that is flippin' amazing. And that happens at 17 hours.
And I love that. That's what you recommend a day. And you so brilliantly said you want to make autophagy a habit. It's like, as a mom, like I can't function with a kindergarten pot in my house if I'm not taking out the trash every single day.
That's right. It's just like that.
Exactly. Like when we are not prioritizing autophagy, at least, 17 hours sometimes. And we'll talk about the cadence and the frequency that you suggest in a little bit. But that was, again, one of those moments of such clarity for me. So thank you. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Now, what if we're like, I want to be I want to look 30 when I'm 80. and I'm going for like the stem cell. What does that look like?
Yeah, so there's three pieces to that answer. Two are stem cell related and one is gene related, turning genes on and off. And I'll tell you off the research. So at 24 hours of fasting, you start to secrete intestinal stem cells. So this is great for anybody who's got digestive problems. So those stem cells will kick in and they'll start to repair the inner mucosal lining of your intestinal tract. This has been incredible for people with SIBO, Candida. I have used that as a tool to kind of throw in, supplements are great, but we also, if we can get your body to naturally repair itself, that's awesome. Yeah. So stem cells at 24 hours for the gut. At 72 hours, you reboot your whole immune system, plus you get musculoskeletal stem cells. So like I had an Achilles tendon injury that I was really worried was just going to take me down a bad path and I wasn't going to be able to work out, and I had thrown everything at it. Chiropractic, massage, supplements, like everything I could think of. Rest is not really my specialty. So I tried resting. Yeah. I tried resting, but anyways, I went on a 5-day water fast, gone. Pain gone, problem gone, never came back.
Oh,
it was crazy.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's where that's where as we age, injuries accumulate, and our immune system gets worn down. This is why here we are in COVID, we're talking about the elderly. Well, it's just their immune system has been depleted. So over time, but you can reboot the immune system with a 3-day water fast. So those are the stem cells really occur in that time range. The really interesting study was done on a dry fast, 14-hour dry fast. It was done on people who did Ramadan. So for 30 days, they did a 14-hour dry fast, which is no food, no water. To me, this is an expert fast. So if you're listening to this for the first time, this doesn't mean you go give up water too. But what happened was after 14 hours, they saw that there was genes for DNA repair, genes for insulin sensitivity, for collagen production, like all of these anti-aging repair genes kicked in, and cancer genes turned off. Liver cancer, breast cancer, colon cancer, 14 hours every day, dry fast for 30 days.
Amazing, right? Yep. And then we've seen like Walter Longo's work around if you're using it around chemotherapy. And so there's just so many. And my particularly favorite benefit is I used to do, before I moved and before things got really stressful, a once a week, 24-hour fast. Mm-hmm. My mood. It was before I watched your videos. I didn't understand why this was happening, but I was so happy at the end of that 24-hour fast. And even the few hours, like I'd say past the 20-hour mark, I just really started feeling like a great version of myself. Mindy, why, Dr. Pelz, tell us, why is that happening?
Yeah, so you're resetting dopamine pathways. So this is actually really interesting because the dopamine pathways get saturated because we're always reaching for food. So think about it, like when you're like, oh my God, I'm going to eat breakfast and I get to eat my favorite breakfast. Before you even put that food in your mouth, you are signaling dopamine. And if you're eating all day, you're signaling dopamine. And just like we can become insulin resistant, we can become dopamine resistant. So when you go into these longer fasts, yes, it's a little painful in the moment, but by the time you hit a certain point, you've reset those dopamine pathways, and you'll start to see over time you're happier and happier and happier. The second piece to it is GABA goes up at about 24 hours. We see a big GABA production, and GABA calms you. Yeah, it's a calming neurotransmitter. So it's what calms the brain and like lets the brain just chill out. And if you talk to somebody who's been on a 3-day water fast, and they'll tell you it's like they don't want to talk after a while. They're just so chill because they have so much GABA.
Yeah, it's amazing to me that you said that there's a relationship between ketones and GABA. And a lot of people, when they think of fasting, it's like an anxiety-provoking thought, and yet like a GABA producing result. So it's like, it seems so
Great said, well
counterintuitive.
said.
And you also said like 24 hours BDNF production kind of
Yeah.
goes up too. So when we're looking at the brain, we're looking at those 24-hour fasts. I just thought that was fascinating and so similar to my experience that I just wanted to highlight that. Okay.
Yeah.
So there, I could go on and on forever, but I want to talk about too, like, so women have to do fasting differently a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I want you to tell us like what kind of fast you recommend for women, and also that piece. Oh, I'm sorry. Before this, the COVID research. Let's go on the COVID research.
Let's go to COVID. Yeah. So the COVID research that I found this week that is really exciting, and the article, the video I put out on Tuesday was a brand new research study, and it was a meta-analysis, which means that they looked at many different studies and they came to this conclusion, and that's that if you're not stimulating autophagy, your cells are not, just like you said, they're not cleaning up. So they're not removing the debris, they're not fixing the parts of the cell, the bacteria, the viruses are already getting congested in there, and there's already an inflammatory sort of low-level cytokine storm. Now, if COVID comes in, and they said specifically COVID, if COVID comes in to that moment and the cell is already dysfunctional, you're going to create a hyperactive cytokine response. And also, and we've heard about the cytokine storm this year. All that is it's just, you're going to get more inflammation. But when you look at like the symptoms people are having, it's like massive congestion in the lungs. Well, what they didn't realize is that they already had congestion in the lungs. There was already inflammation going on because they hadn't been stimulating autophagy. So when COVID came to town, it just put them over the top.
So the trash.
Right. You take out the trash, clean those cells up. So it got me thinking that like, oh my God, the best thing we could do right now is do these autophagy fasts, which is 17 hours of fasting. And there are other ways to stimulate autophagy, but that's the most profound, so that everybody's already got cells that are ready for action, but not in this inflammatory cytokine state.
I really love that you said that. And I've heard from so many health experts that fasting is super stressful for the body. It is not something you want to be doing right now. And you would say this research suggests the exact opposite, but maybe not extended, maybe not like a 3 to 5 day fast. What are your thoughts on that? Is it 17 hours seems optimal and then
well, so we teach, one of the fasts that I teach is called autophagy fasting, and I have people go 17 hours without food, and then they break their fast with fat, and then they wait an hour or two before they eat, and when they do eat, they keep their protein under 20 grams. So if you do that day after day after day, you'll stay in autophagy quite a bit. And so that there's other ways you can bring in some other strategies and not even have to go into a 3 or 5 day water fast to be able to get maximum immune benefit right now. So that's kind of how I approach it, is like, let's all work towards some more 17-hour fasts. Let's look at, could we keep on some days, keep our protein under 20 grams? And, you know, it's just like metabolic switching or flexibility. There's autophagy flexibility. We don't necessarily want to be in autophagy all the time, but we want to be going in and out of autophagy states. So just like you don't go out and empty your trash can every single hour, you wait till it's full and then you empty it. So it's the same thing. Like, we don't need to be obsessed with autophagy, but it is our friend right now in this moment if we come in contact with COVID.
I think that's, so powerful. And the way that I navigate that, and maybe this is different, maybe you have a different product. I wake up, I have black coffee, and then I usually get hungry around the 14 to 16 hour mark. And then I have a fat fuel. So it's just fat is like butter, it's coconut oil. Yep. And then that keeps me full for a really long time. And like you said, break it with fat. So when you say breaking it with fat, what is that looking like for you?
My favorite way to break a fast is avocado with some sauerkraut. Ooh. That's like, I'll even go one step further. So I take avocado, and I put sauerkraut on top, and I'll put some hemp seeds because hemp seeds are really good for your bacteria in your gut. That's how I break my fast.
And
I
then
love
that's
it.
easy. Then it's easy to get to that 17-hour mark. So
Yes.
awesome. Okay. So much in there. But now can you tell us, women have a few different considerations. And this woman that I was talking to, it's funny because you mentioned the digestive healing that occurs at the 24-hour mark, and she does have SIBO. And so she cannot fast. Take it away, Dr. Mindy. Why is that? And what are women needing to do differently?
Yeah, so in that woman's situation, I hear this all the time from people. They go, "Gosh, I just can't fast," and I would ask you to retrain the way that statement or rephrase that statement, which is, "I haven't trained my body to fast." Because I was hypoglycemic gal. Like, I mean, the first time I started learning fasting, my sister came to visit and she's like, "I cannot believe you're going without breakfast." Like, I was the person that was going to take everybody down if I didn't eat. But I had never like trained myself to fast. So the best way, if you struggle with fasting, understand you're still in a sugar burner state. You got to wake those mitochondria up. Those mitochondria are the ones that are going to create energy from being in a fasted state. And you do it by just push your breakfast back an hour. Just do that for a couple weeks, push your breakfast back. Then when you get comfortable there, then push your breakfast back a couple of hours for another couple weeks, and slowly take your eating window and compress it and elongate your fasting window. That really works for people who struggle to fast. Now, the on the opposite side of that is the woman who goes, "Oh my God, fasting's amazing. I can finally get my weight under control. I have great mental clarity. I'm just going to fast all the time." Now, for that woman, if she still has a cycle, she's tanking her hormones, and she has to be aware that there's in a 28-day period, there's a time to fast and there's a time not to fast. And the most simple explanation of that is on day 21 of your cycle, your body wants to make progesterone. It makes progesterone so that the uterine lining can shed and you have a period. You need foods like beans, squashes, potatoes, rice, tropical fruits, citrus fruits. These are not typically keto foods that people are leaning into, but you have to get out of this low blood sugar state. You don't necessarily want to be in ketosis on day 21 because your body needs more resources to make progesterone.
Yeah.
And how we discovered this was we have so many people fasting in our community, and I discovered it for myself. People were like, "I stopped getting my period, my hair is falling out, I'm anxious, I'm not sleeping." And I started to see that all these women were tanking their progesterone.
Yeah, and it makes sense, honestly, when I fast, and it does get harder that week before my period. Just
Right?
intuitively, my body's like, nope, 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 I need to eat. And so I always kind of had some grace period or grace with myself during that period. Now, when going back to that woman who could not fast, do you think sometimes there is HPA axis dysfunction or like high stress, or someone who's been just like, pedal to the metal for way too long? Is that person going to be harmed by fasting?
Um, this is what I always say with the adrenal person. They got to kind of back into it. You can't like just go full force in, because there's something called hormetic stress, and hormetic stress is that you're just going to put a little bit of stress on those adrenals, and when you do that, you will repair. And so it's really important to understand that a little bit of stress on the human body actually is reparative. So knock on wood, I have not had a case yet, and we fast hundreds of thousands of people every single month. I haven't seen somebody who hasn't been able to fast or overcome adrenal fatigue through fasting. They just have to be slow and steady, lots of fat when you're eating, so you're keeping your blood sugar stable, bring those refined carbohydrates down. So there's a strategy. I actually think I did a video on that. Like, if you have adrenal fatigue, how should you be fasting? But they can fast. They just have to they have to approach it differently.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. Now, and you talked about you had an autophagy fast and you have a happy fast. Can you just tell us for the like 30 to 50-year-old women, I guess perimenopausal for most people, what does your like monthly rhythm look like?
Okay, I would say that so the first thing is track your cycle. I laugh because I am 51, and I'm slowly going into menopause. But as I have been applying these principles, I'm like, I don't know if I'm ever going into menopause, because once I've sort of cleaned everything up, I'm like, the average age for menopause is like 55. So you want to be, the later you go into menopause, the better. So with the 30 to 50-year-old, what I would start with is track your cycle. I have something called the Clue app. I download it. When my cycle starts, I track it. On day 1 to day 21, you can do whatever kind of fast you want. What that looks like for me, I typically tell people to start with what we call a 5-1-1, where 5 days a week you are doing intermittent fasting with whatever style of eating you want. You can do keto, however you want it. 1 day a week, you're going to do a longer fast. So you could do 17 hours, you could do 24 hours. We ideally like to get you to 24 so you can get that stem cell regeneration in the gut. And then 1 day a week, you're not going to fast. You're going to actually do what we call feast. And we have a hormone building day that we recommend all women do, which is those foods I mentioned, and that you step out of a fasted state, you step out of ketosis. So again, and I know I'm preaching to the choir, but we become zealots for like our food ways, and we're like, oh, I am vegan and I have this every day for breakfast, or I have this every day for dinner, and then we don't have variation. But if you go back to hunter-gatherer, we had variation because the seasons demanded it. Some days, sometimes we had to go long periods without food, and sometimes we got, big kills and there was plenty of berries on the tree and we could feast. So that's what we're simulating. Now on day 21, this is the most fun because you have about a week where you get to eat. And if you want to intermittent fast, you can, but you literally need to eat and eat good food. So a lot of women who have eating disorders will say to us like, oh no, I'm going to gain weight. And my response is, not if you eat healthy food. I want to bring back a passion for eating healthy food. Yeah. So we can't be afraid of food. And I worry that when people come to fasting, they get such good results that they then get afraid of food. Yeah. But that week, beans and potatoes and squashes and lots of leafy greens. And just eat those nourishing foods so that because your body needs nourishment then. And it's how we were designed.
Totally. Thank you for laying that out so beautifully. And the other one I want to touch on that I learned from you too is, what about the weight loss resistant type? What kind of fast would you recommend for that population?
Yeah. So assuming that if you haven't fasted at all, the first hurdle is get to 13 to 15 hours. Master that. So once you're there,
that's
beginner. Yeah. If you have weight loss resistant and you haven't tried fasting, I would say 50% of that population is going to go 13 to 15 hours every single day. And they're going to send you a message and be like, oh my God, that worked. And they're going to unstick themselves. The other 50% are going to have to work with what we call insulin resistance. And so they benefit by bringing down the really high glycemic foods, bringing down the toxic oils, like really clean up your diet. And then you ultimately want to get yourself to a 36-hour fast. I have found a 36-hour fast every couple of weeks, for whatever reason, is that thing that like unsticks everybody. And so some people can unstick themselves with a 24, but the 36-hour one is that magic one. And you can work yourself up to it, but that's the one I usually say for weight loss resistance.
Amazing. And now it begs the question for people who are beginning this, what do we do when that hunger comes in and all of a sudden we're like, oh, I've got to eat? Mindy Pelz, tell us, what is your repertoire?
You know what? I did a video on this, and how it came about was one of my staff members said to me, "Oh, my husband's going to do a 3-day water fast," and I was like, "Oh, is he excited?" And she goes, "Well, he asked the obvious question. He asked, 'What do I do if I get hungry?'" And I was like, "Well, that's a good question." Like we get so caught in the science, we forget. Like, oh yeah, there should be, yeah. So yeah. So the first thing to know is that what happens is you start to switch. There's gonna be a moment where you switch over into fat burners. So I think when I was hypoglycemic, what would happen is I had this feeling of like, if I'm hungry now and it's 15 hours in and I want to, I'm going to go 24 hours. Oh my gosh, I'm going to just get more hungry and more hungry and more hungry. That doesn't happen. There's a moment that your body starts making ketones, and ketones kill the hunger hormone. So there is a little bit of just hang in there, stay busy, go to sleep, watch a show, like do something to preoccupy your mind because your body's on it. And then once it makes ketones, the hunger will go away. So that's kind of the first thing. The second thing is before you go into the fast, make sure you've stabilized your blood sugar. So what this means is lots of good fat, really good fibery carbs, get away from the refined carbs. And I find if people go into the fasted state with stable blood sugar, it'll be much easier. And then the last one that I've given some of our resetters is if you have to, take a scoop of oil, take some MCT oil, take some seed oils, just take some oil, and it will help dampen the hunger, but won't take you out of a fasted state.
Absolutely. I love that you mentioned that people think that hunger is just going to get out of control, but it's more like a wave. I remember when I was in labor and my doula told me, if you see it like a wave, it comes up, there's a peak, and then it comes right back down. And you find that it is that peak, it doesn't last that long. And so if you have something to do, phoning a friend, going for a walk, listening to a song, like you said, taking a scoop of coconut oil, like that's not going to kill the autophagy. Brilliant. I love that. And the last kind of thing I want to talk about before you tell us about your offer is you mentioned at the top the autophagy, that there are other ways to stimulate autophagy besides just fasting. So Dr. Pelz, can you share some of your favorite autophagy boosting exercises?
Yeah. So the first is HIIT training. So getting your heart rate up and down stimulates autophagy. The second is sleep. When you're sleeping, you're stimulating autophagy. So that's great. So make sure you get good sleep. You're doing autophagy for the brain when you're sleeping. So that's awesome. The third, there's some foods. So coffee, I'm actually found some really cool research on coffee can help you get into autophagy. I'm going to be doing a video on that next week. But we have like green tea. There's like foods like berberine or herbs like berberine can help you. Earl Grey tea, has bergamot in it. So there's some herbs like that can be beneficial. Oh, you know what I found yesterday? Oh, you'll love this. This is right up your alley. I found some research showing that emotions take you out of autophagy, specifically anger, resentment, bitterness, and guilt. Those 4 emotions kill autophagy.
Dr. Pelz, then what do we do when we find ourselves, because fasting does bring up all the emotions. So what is a little tool? What do we do?
Right. Well, this is why I call it exercise the fasting muscle. I think one of the challenges I see with the alternative health world is that people bring the paradigm that they had in the medical world to the alternative world. So they're like one pill, one problem, one solution. And you have to understand with fasting, it's a lifestyle. You want to build a fasting lifestyle and use all these different fasts, and then it just gets really fun and playful, and the anger and all that goes away. So you just exercise the muscle, and over time that will help. The other thing is get in communities. So this is how we created our Resetter Collaborative on Facebook. It's a free community. You you can bitch on the community. You can be like, I'm 17 hours in, I want to kill somebody, you know? And then you got a community of people. We have like almost 40,000 people in that group, and they'll just come and cheer you on and rescue you. So surround yourself with people who are really positive.
I love that. And then also something I heard or saw on social media the other day that was just like oh, wow. It was like one of my favorite hormone experts. She said, are you using your friends as your journal? And I thought, oh my gosh, do we have a journal? People, if we're angry, if we're resentful, like a journal is a great place to kind of work through that. And there's also this like forgiveness exercise that you can actually write out that I will share with you in the comments because it's been so helpful for everyone. Last question before we talk about your offer. I totally lied, but I'm very curious about this. So you often recommend that 50 grams of protein or below. Now, is this an autophagy thing? Because a lot of times when I work with women, I see that they're not eating enough protein. Tell us about that stance for you.
Okay, so for starters, know that my stance on nutrition is variation. I think we should be going in and out of different variations. So I think there's a place for the plant-based world. I think there's a place for the carnivore world. There's a time to stimulate autophagy. There's a time, like we need to get used to being more flexible with our different foods. So that would be the first thing I would say. If you go above 20 grams, you are out of autophagy. So the way I do it is I'll wake up in the morning and I'll be like, okay, what does my body need today? And if I want to stimulate autophagy, I'll make sure to keep I'll fast for 17 hours and keep my protein under 20 grams. But I wouldn't do that week after week after week, or, amino acids would go down. There would, over time, you would have a problem. So maybe I'll do an autophagy day one day, and then maybe the next day I'll be like, you know what? I'm just going to do carnivore today. I'm not going to count macros. I'm just going to eat as much, meat as I possibly can, and I'll do like a carnivore day. And then the 50 gram is what we call ketobiotic. I feel like the ketogenic diet, a lot of people do it too low carb, too low protein. So I tell my resetters, ketobiotic, 50 grams of net carbs, 50 grams of protein, over 60% of your food is good fat, and eat a lot of greens, eat a lot of sauerkraut, kimchi, get those polyphenols. That's kind of just general good health. But you really got to go in and out of these different states. And I know that's confusing. I mean, everybody wants, give me just the one answer. And I'm like, no, you got to find the rhythm for you.
Totally. There's nuance there. And so you're saying 20 grams of protein within what time period will kick you out?
24 hours.
Within 24 hours. Okay, friends. Well, that fascinating stuff. And one other thing that I learned on your site that I just wanted to mention was that there was research that a cold shower, even just a 30 to 60 or 90 second finish, improved the immunity by what, 29% or something like that?
Yep. It like helps your immunity. It stimulates autophagy. So there's a lot of really cool, and I'm actually in the process, the cold shower is really intriguing, and the cold plunges everybody's doing is really intriguing to me, because again, I'm back at like our hormonal levels. What if I'm trying to make progesterone on day 21, and one of the killers of progesterone is cortisol? So what if I jump in a cold ice bath and I spike cortisol on that day? Is that hormonally good for me? And that's what I don't know the answer yet. I'm just sort of unpacking that question. And I think as women, we have to always see it through the lens of our hormones.
I agree. And it's funny because I do really well fasting, like you said, 3 weeks, and with cold showers because I love them, except for that week before my period. My body's like, no, other stuff going on. And so I just give myself a little bit of a break. And okay, well, Dr. Pelz, you've been amazing. And I want you to tell us about your offer. But first, you have so much knowledge. Just take us through your day. What kind of strategies are you using, like morning to night? And then you can totally tell us about your offer.
Oh my God, that's funny. It's called Jessica. Jessica organizes me. I would be nothing without Jessica. So I'd say a couple key pieces of it is that I get up around 5 in the morning and I have morning time. So I like to spend 2 hours in the morning, just me. I read, I do meditate, I do breath work. And so I really try to get 2 hours of total me time. Sometimes I do my research then. But I give to myself first. Then once I go into the office, it depends what we're doing, but we have in my schedule is whole time. Like yesterday, I had a 3-hour block where all I was doing is researching. And then I got on a podcast interview, and then we did some work in the office. So the day's pretty scheduled, back to back, but I start with my me time. The other thing that I have set in my schedule that will never change are my workouts. So like this morning, I knew I was hopping on at 10 with you. So I started working out at 8:30 this morning so I could get that handled and out of the way. And then I scheduled downtime. So Friday afternoon, Sunday, don't ever ask me to do anything on Sunday. Sunday's like, I just chill out. I do yoga in the morning. But those are like my hard, like somebody gives me hey, come to a party. I like literally sit and I think, I'm like, yeah, that's my downtime. Is that good for me? I don't know. Cause I find if I'm too go, I'm really not my best self.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And are there any supplements that you, because you have such an extensive fasting regimen, kind of lean on in those times, or do you stay away from them? What are your thoughts?
Yeah. The two of my favorite right now, I think everybody should be taking minerals. Our soils are so depleted. The regenerative agricultural stuff just needs to come to the surface. People need to know about that. Everybody go watch Kiss the Ground. It's an incredible documentary.
Oh, well done. Yeah.
Yeah. And we really see in the fasting world this mineral deficiency. Once people start to fast, their hair is falling out, and we're like, okay, we got to up your minerals. So a mineral supplement. And then I'm a huge fan of Ion Biome, because it helps to seal off any kind of leaky gut situation. So it's really a counteractive supplement for glyphosate, which is in so much food. Not the food you guys are making, but a lot of people, I know, right? Are dealing with glyphosate. But those are my two everydays.
Okay. Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Pelz. That was, probably my favorite episode on fasting ever. And so keep up the great work. We are cheerleaders for you for life. Can you tell us about your special offer? And if there was anything else you think we missed in this conversation, I'd love to know that too.
So yeah, we did a fasting cheat sheet because I know, like you said, we've got 8 or 9 fasts, and as I find new research, I develop more fasts. So we created a cheat sheet, and so I think we're going to give you guys the link so people can go and access the cheat sheet, and it's really to help you figure out when to start and what type of fast you want. We do on YouTube once a month, and in our resetter group on Facebook, we do what we call Fast Training Week, where we are like teaching people different fasts. So a couple weeks ago, we did Keto Calm Fast, where I taught everybody how to get more ketones. Then I did a happiness one. Next month, we're doing one on minerals. So I try to take the fasting concept. We work together as a community to fast together, but then people are learning. So you can do that on YouTube. You can do that on the Resetter Collaborative. And then the only other thing is the Menopause Reset is a book that I wrote for menopausal women on like how do they fast, because our cycles are all over the place, and how do you manage the symptoms. And so that will come out in print on Amazon in April. I just got the first copy of the book. So if you want to know how to do this through the menopause years, you can go there and pre-order it.
Wonderful. And you talk about, I know your friend with Dr. Annika Becker, we just had her on the show.
Love her.
Love her. Everyone always focuses on progesterone, testosterone, and estrogen, but these cortisol and insulin and oxytocin, insulin is driving the behavior of these. And so fasting is not only how do I do it, but it's going to actually probably help you with your hormonal health. So Dr. Pelz, yes, this was an amazing conversation. Go check out all of her work. Like she said, vibrant community. When I went to her YouTube channel, over 200,000 people there. I saw in just one video I watched, like over 500 comments, like you will be in good company. And I'm just really excited that we got to spend some time with you. So
thank you, Autumn. Thank you. Appreciate it.